Hi, so welcome to day 2 of our Healthy Habits workshop. I hope you guys got a lot out of day 1. Sorry for the little delay in videos. We actually had an ice storm up here in Oregon and I was out of internet for almost a week. So it happened like mid-upload of the first one and I had to post that a day late and then it was just down the rest of the week. So thanks for hanging in there. We're just putting it off 1 week, and the Q&A, I'm going to have the live Q&A that was initially going to be Friday of last week. I might have to reschedule it for a completely different time, so I'll keep you guys posted on when we can do that. So for today, now that we've taken the time to rewrite our food story and set some actionable goals for ourselves, today we want to identify the type of foodie that we are. Because when we've set goals for ourselves, if we don't understand what motivates our eating behaviors and choices, we're just going to run into pitfalls. So identifying what type of foodie we are and what motivates us is kind of critical to maintaining these goals and new healthy habits for ourselves in the long term. So there's basically 2 types of eaters and 4 types of eating motivations. So we're going to start with the 2 types of eaters. Really simple, and they're completely contrasting. You're either an intuitive eater or you're a controlled eater. And the difference between those is more of an internal motivation versus an external motivation. So intuitive eaters naturally listen to their body cues about hunger and satiation, and those influence when they're eating and what they're eating. Controlled eaters, which is most of us, or at least we're all influenced by external factors at some point. Controlled eaters are motivated by external, environmental, and emotional factors. These types of influences are our motivations for eating, and it's critical to identify them so that we know where our pitfalls may lie and we can strategize what we can do to make sure our goals are achievable. Okay, so there's 2 types of eaters, either an intuitive or controlled eater. Most of us are a little bit of both. I've never met a purely intuitive eater before, but those that, I feel like I'm a pretty intuitive eater, but there's still a lot of external factors that can influence my choices. So definitely have some controlled motivations that I deal with on a daily basis. So what are those 4 eating motivations? They're social, emotional, habitual, and then healthy. So we'll talk about each one and I'll give you examples of them as well. So for social, that's when your eating times or your choices revolve around socialization, special events, special occasions. We all have social influences. I'm really shy. Like every time for decades that I would go to a party, I'm often found at the food table, just picking at it and kind of casually talking to people. Not hungry necessarily, but I eat a lot at parties because it just eases my anxiety and gives me something physically to do. So that's a social eating motivation. Going to birthday parties and eating cake when maybe you're not hungry or should eat it because you've got health issues. Going out to dinner all the time where you're not preparing the food, you're not conscious necessarily about what you're eating. Portions tend to be really big, so you might eat a lot more than you would if you just ate that same meal at home. So all of these external factors are socially motivating your choices. Okay, and then emotional is when your eating times and choices are influenced by your mood, whether you're stressed or angry or happy or sad. We've all fallen into this, like you've had a bad day at work. Maybe you have a drink when you get home where you wouldn't normally, or you're just choosing more snack, higher sugar content or fat content, foods that just make you feel good, even though maybe you're not even hungry, right? So those are emotional motivations, like based external factors again that are you're making choices based on how you're feeling. Habitual motivations don't always have to be bad. I mean, none of these are necessarily bad, right? We're trying not to say good or bad. We're human beings, so all of these are going to influence us at some point. It's just a matter of being aware of them so that when we are faced with a choice and we realize we're in this situation, we can make a better choice, or we can set ourselves up for success in how we plan our day or whatever it may be. So habitual is when your eating tends to be more distracted. You're less conscious of it based on time of day or activities that you're doing, which, habits can be good. It was the healthy habits series, right? So we want to create good habits, but we don't want to be so distracted that we aren't aware of our choices. And that's the difference. So habitual eating might be, you have to take your work break at the same time, and it's the only time that maybe you can eat, but maybe you're not even hungry, right? But you eat anyways because you're doing it. And I'm a snacker. A great example of a habitual one is when I go down to watch a movie. Whether or not I'm hungry, I always want something to snack on when I'm watching a movie. So knowing this about myself with my actionable goals that I created, I have strategies in place where maybe I still have a snack, but I'm more aware of the portion size, or I'm choosing different types of snacks that are much healthier for me, that aren't, I'm not going to balloon after eating, a snack watching a movie. So um, again, being aware of these motivations so that we can strategize is the whole purpose. And the fourth type of eating motivation is just being healthy, being a healthy eater, where your eating times are intuitive based on your body cues and your food choices are mindful. We all want to be healthy eaters, ideally, but again, we're human beings living in a society with billions of other people. Obviously, there's going to be external influences that we deal with all the time. But we want to strive for being more of a healthy, intuitive eater. What we're going to do today is I want you to think about your own motivations on a daily basis. Is there a specific area that stands out for you, or do you find that you're influenced by all of them? And then we're going to actually write down examples of how each of these situations or motivations has influenced you, and when and what you ate in these situations. So two-parter. Go ahead and pause the video and again, write down what type of motivated eater you are. Or again, if there's multiple ones, write that down, and then examples of how each of these has influenced you. And even if you feel like you're not a habitual eater at all, you could probably find an example of it. So try to, at least for the exercise, write down a time that each of them has influenced you, but then also try to identify what has the most influence on you. I mean, do this for healthy too. Some people are not healthy eaters and they know that, but it doesn't mean that there's never been a time where their body told them when to eat. And, so write that down too. So go ahead and pause the video and then come back and we'll do a summary. Identifying, there's not a lot of motivations, but it's really important to identify which ones have the most influence on you. And then tomorrow, when we're talking about setting ourselves up for success, we're going to actually address these different motivations and things that you can do to counteract them so that your goals are achievable and you're successful at them in the long term. Okay, so welcome back. Hopefully you were able to identify some of your own external motivations. I tend to be a pretty intuitive eater at this point in my life, but wasn't. I mean, my whole childhood, I was a pretty controlled eater, definitely influenced by external motivations. And I still tend to be like socially motivated. Like I said, when I go out, I'm pretty shy and I'll kind of hide behind food. It's there and easy. And then sometimes, like in certain work environments, I might fall into a little bit of a habitual pattern, or like I said, like just watching a movie, I always have a snack. So there's always going to be external motivation. So don't get down on yourself. What we really wanted to achieve today is identifying or even understanding the different motivations that influence when we eat and the food choices that we make, so that when we run into these issues in the future, when trying to achieve our goals, we'll know how to handle them. And tomorrow, we're going to talk about prepping for success and really setting your environment up, and creating strategies for yourself that will tackle some of these motivating factors that are currently influencing your choices so that they're not so challenging. So basically today, we just wanted to focus on how important it is to be conscious of what motivates when and what you eat, because it's critical to making changes in your long-term health. Most diets don't even tackle eating motivation. They tend to focus on making one or more macronutrients, whether it's fat, carbohydrates, proteins, the enemy. But the strongest correlation between obesity and poor health are how much we eat and the quality of the foods that we're eating. So, being a controlled, social, emotional, habitual eater not only makes it more likely that we will eat when we aren't hungry and we'll eat long past we're satiated, but it also tends to result in making poor food choices, especially for habitual eaters who maybe are just really distracted when they're eating. So, what often leads to our eating motivation are also often our biggest stumbling blocks as we try to make changes to move towards more healthy eating. These blocks can be time, availability or access to healthy foods, nutritional restrictions, like I have celiac disease, so I can't eat gluten. So, dealing with that, or maybe you're diabetic and you have to watch your sugar, or whatever other restrictions you might have, those are stumbling blocks. So, addictions, like if you're an alcoholic or you've got food addictions, that can be a block for you. Just education. I mean, that's why we're here. Not everybody has access to nutritional information. So, whatever these blocks or issues may be for yourself or a loved one, if you're helping them, this next session, Prep for Success, being kind to your future self, we're going to talk about strategies that you can implement to make healthier choices for yourself, so that you'll see long-term success. And these blocks and issues will hopefully become non-issues. So I hope you learned a little bit more about yourself today and the type of eater that you are and what motivates your decisions regarding food. And we will see you tomorrow. All right, thanks.